After this season's FA Cup semi-final heartbreak, I have to rebuild Coventry City. 20 years ago, Coventry were a Premier League side. They were managed by Gordon Strachan, had David Burrows in defence, Gary McAllister in midfield, and up front the deadly duo of Dion Dublin and Darren Huckerby. But this club really has been through the ringer, dropping all the way down into the English football's 4th tier as recently as 2018. This is also the same time that Mark Robins was appointed, as started their resurgence back up the Football League, even losing last season's Championship playoff final. Today we take over at the Sky Blues and attempt to continue the journey and get this team back into the Premier League and see what we can achieve over the next 5 seasons. So guys, here we are in the Championship with Coventry City at their Coventry Building Society Arena. The facilities are pretty good. The kits are interesting. I did not know that they were sponsored by King of Shaves. That is an interesting sponsorship, I guess. The team is not too bad, actually. If we go and take a look at the squad, you can kind of see here we have a decent level of player in the team already. Milan for the right back looks like a very, very good player. He's definitely more of a winger, but I'm going to be playing him as a right back in this team, but he does look very, very good coming over from Heerenveen. We've also have, for the time being, Gustavo Hamer until he goes to join Sheffield United. Obviously, we're using a real-world database here. So we do have Hamer, but he is obviously, of course, leaving to go and join Sheffield United. Haji Wright is another player that we'll be looking to use, obviously US men's national team guy, but I do want to give him a strike partnership, who is a player who is coming in. If I go over to here, we've got Ellis Sims to play up front alongside him. We're going to be running 2 strikers today, and we need a tactic to do that, so we are going to be running GYR's Joker tactic. And if we quick pick without restriction the team going into this right now, this is what I want. Wright and Sims as the 2, and look at all these lines that go on in midfield. It's a shame that Hamer is going to be leaving the club, but that probably does allow me to do something like this, put Eccles in there and then bring Callum O'Hare into play in that position, and I think that's probably how we are going to run for the most of the season. Obviously, we've got a pretty solid team, not spectacular, no real superstars, despite O'Hare and Haji Wright having 3.5-star current ability, but the team is pretty solid. We've got a couple players in on loan as well, but I think we can do good things this season. Now, if we go and have a look at the competitions tab, you can see the 3 that we do have. We do have the Sky Bet Championship, the Emirates FA Cup, and of course the EFL Cup, which I don't think is called the Carabao. Is it the Carabao? Who knows? The EFL Cup. Well, I'll call it the EFL Cup. But obviously the Championship is what we're looking at now. In real life, I believe Coventry are just outside the playoff places. If we have a look at the season preview, we're predicted to finish in 10th, so a top half finish, but obviously you have to consider the relegated teams like Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, etc. are going to be forces to be reckoned with. So we're going to have to see how we can get on with this first season, with this Joker tactic. At the time of recording, it's not actually been released, but I think it's going to be coming out this week. So let's get into it. Let's see how we can do in season number 1. So in season 1, we could not replicate the heroics that Coventry had in real life. We couldn't get to that FA Cup semi-final, but we did have some very contrasting results in the 2 domestic cup competitions this season. In the EFL Cup, we suffered a disappointing penalty shootout loss to League 2 side AFC Wimbledon in the 2nd round, but we really came to play in the FA Cup. First, we knocked out Premier League opposition in Bournemouth away from home with a cheeky 1-0 win, before needing a replay to dispatch Aston Villa, with us securing a huge 4-0 win at home. It was Championship opposition in the 5th round as Norwich came to the Coventry Building Society Arena, with Callum O'Hare netting the all-important goal in the 98th minute to see us move into the FA Cup quarter-finals. Here we faced David Moyes' West Ham at the London Stadium, and this was a step too far for us this time around. Losing 4-2 on the day, but at least showing what we can do against this type of caliber opposition. However, season number 1 was all about our performances in the Championship. And in real life, Cov sit in 8th place with no chances of getting into the playoffs this season. Well, in game, we started the season with an outstanding 11-game unbeaten run that included victories against the likes of Leicester, Middlesbrough and Norwich. That run was ended by my team, Bristol City, at Ashton Gate, but it was a real statement of intent that we mean business this season. Our team were ruthless in front of goal, and the two main men up top feasted on goals throughout the campaign. US men's national team striker Haji Wright secured the league's golden boot, netting 31 goals in 41 championship appearances, and his dance partner Ellis Sims also scored 21 goals in 39 league appearances. After the turn of the year, we continued to look impressive and rack up the goals, only failing to score on 2 occasions in 21 league fixtures. We even finished the league season with a 9-0 demolition of QPR, which saw us secure the Sky Bet Championship title at the first time of asking and go flying into the Premier League next season. Leicester did push us the whole way, only being 1 point behind us when it was all said and done. But this is when you look at the league's highest average rating screen and you can see how much we dominated, as we had 4 of the top 5 players in the league for that particular metric. So season 1 saw a league title and an FA Cup quarter-final, which you really cannot complain about. But this is a huge summer as we have to get this team ready for the Premier League, and I have a Premier League level finance budget to get us done over the line, as I have a transfer budget of £36.5 million to spend over the summer. So guys, we had to get active in the transfer market going back into the Premier League, and look who is back at the club. Yes, Gustavo Hamer is back after a season at Sheffield United. They purchased him, they had him in the Premier League for a year, they got relegated, so we bought him back. He's now back at the club for his second spell, and I think he's a very good addition for us. Obviously, if we have a look at his history, you can see Sheffield United paid £15 million for him. They got relegated. We activated his £16 million release clause, so he's back. Another year in the Premier League, and hopefully we don't suffer that same fate. We also had a couple of other transfers as well. I cannot believe that this man was on the transfer list. Jan Orel Bisek is absolute beast. He's an absolute beast. He's got 17 jumping reach, 16 strength. He's 6'5". He was transfer listed by Inter Milan, and I had to pay the £10 million for his services. If you are playing FC24 Ultimate Team, this guy has a Team of the Season card. He is a freak. So we picked him up for £10 million, and then we picked up a couple of free transfers as well. Michael Folorunsho is how I'm probably butchering this guy's name. He came in from Napoli, I believe. Yeah, he's been out on loan for forever. Came in from Napoli. Looks supremely well-rounded, actually. Looking like a very good box-to-box midfielder for us. Nigerian international as well. He's a consistent performer, 4-star current ability. A very, very good addition, especially on a free transfer. At the back, we've added a little bit of a leader. We've added Jamal Lascelles. He was released by Newcastle United, comes into our team, still actually has a little bit of pace around him for 30 years of age. He's good, he's strong, he's fit, and he's also got 17 for leadership. So I think also pushing all your resources into young players doesn't necessarily work. So I'm hoping Lascelles can play alongside Bisek and they can form a very, very good defensive partnership between them. He can't do anything else technically, but he is a very, very good defender. So I'm hoping he can make that step up. And then the last one is Castrovilli coming into our midfield. Supremely well-rounded. Only has 2 things that are not in double digits, which are long throws and marking. He's going to be a creative midfielder for us. He's capped by Italy. He was on a free transfer after being released by Fiorentina. So if we quick pick without restriction, our best 11 going into season number 2, here we go. We've still got several other faces that got us promoted last season. We've not gone overboard. We kind of rejuvenated the midfield with 3 new signings. Obviously, Hamer is a former player but is back, and we've kind of rejuvenated our centre-back partnership. Everything else is there, so it's only 5 players coming in. The fullbacks will continue. I actually am very impressed with the fullbacks. I think ultimately we will need to strengthen in goal at some point, but I love these 2 up top. They are absolute handfuls. Like if you look at Wright, he's 6'4", was our top goal scorer last season. He's 6'4", and Ellis Sims is 6 foot and is built like a brick house. So like I think this is going to be a very interesting combo to see how these 2 make the step up, and ultimately how the rest of the team make the step up into the Premier League this season. We do have 3 competitions on the docket this year. We got the FA Cup obviously and the Carabao Cup, but if we go into the Premier League, it will come as no surprise. Well, one surprise, Arsenal won the season, so is that something that is coming? Who knows? At the time of recording, there's still a few games left. City still could claw them back. Arsenal are top of the League at the current time of recording. If we go and have a look at the season preview though, we are 1,000 to 1 to win the league. We are predicted to finish stone dead last. The teams that got promoted with us, Leicester and Leeds United, are predicted to fare much better than we are. Hopefully we can be that surprise package with that dynamic duo up front. Our main goal this season was survival in the Premier League, and it just seems like every single fixture we had was a very difficult one. We first of all lost away to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge before somehow beating Manchester City at home, with Haji Wright balling out and scoring an amazing hat-trick. If we were going to stay up, then it was our home form that needed to be good, and we did manage to pick up some impressive wins after that one against City. In the first half of the season, we defeated West Ham, Aston Villa, Brentford and Burnley at home to keep the points tally ticking over. Haji Wright was our star man this season. He made the step up in division brilliantly and even secured the golden boot with his strike partner Ellis Sims right behind him. Fullback Milan van Ewijk also had an amazing season, again making the step up superbly and providing us with 20 assists in all competitions. And he is now wanted by a club in Saudi Arabia, so I think we all know how this one goes. As we progressed through the Premier League campaign, it was clear we're good at scoring goals, but a little bit ropey at the back. But our home form was remarkable, winning games at the Coventry Building Society Arena against Leeds, Spurs, Wolves and Leicester to see us comfortably survive in the Premier League, finishing 15th in the table with 44 points. We were the third best team in the league in terms of goals scored, but we were also the third worst team in terms of goals conceded. So I guess I know where I need to spend my money over the summer. Away from the Premier League, we had contrasting cup runs, and I'm going to start by talking about the EFL Cup. We managed to defeat lower league opposition in the earlier rounds, beating West Brom, Birmingham and Portsmouth to set up a quarter-final appearance where we took on Liverpool. The game was at Anfield and we caught a rotated Liverpool side cold, running into a 3-0 lead inside the first 35 minutes. Dominic Szoboszlai did manage to pull a goal back for Xavi Alonso's men, but we managed to hold on and move into the semi-finals. In the EFL Cup, the semi-finals are played over 2 legs, and we will face Chelsea at Stamford Bridge in the first. And this was an absolute car crash for us, as Chelsea ripped us apart in this one, with goals raining down on Ben Wilson's net, which ultimately ended in a 5-1 win for Chelsea. We did have a better account of ourselves in the second leg, winning the game 1-0 on the night, but we couldn't overturn that first leg deficit, but a semi-final appearance isn't anything to be sniffed at. Whereas in the FA Cup, we needed a replay to get past Championship side Bristol City before losing to League One side Lincoln City in the 4th round. But I'm beyond pleased with this first season in the Premier League, and I get my payday reward with the second season of Premier League money. We have just over £55 million to spend in the summer, but the Saudis are circling around some of our key players, so that may end up being even more. So guys, I said the Saudis were circling and we had a big outgoing ahead of season number 3. Ellis Sims has departed the club. He has now gone to Al Ahly. He went for an absolute fortune. If we go and take a look, he was sold for £44 million after being the second top goal scorer in the Premier League last year. He's now gone over to Saudi Arabia as one of our outgoings. We had a couple of other outgoings as well, but nothing definitely on that level. But that allowed us to go out and be active in the transfer market ourselves and effectively balance our books. If you look at this screen, we spent 44.5, we recouped 45, so we are in a good spot going into the season. First up, we picked up Sebastiano Esposito on a free transfer. I've not seen as much of him this time around in this year's game as I have done in previous editions of FM, but I think he still has a lot of good attributes, and he's come in as a squad player as well, so it's not like we're paying him an exorbitant amount of money to come in as a rotation up there. We also picked up Tommy Doyle, the man who always gets released by Manchester City. He's come in to be in our midfield, 23 years of age, young English player, very consistent, obviously out of the Man City Academy, so looking forward to seeing what he can do. And we improved at the back, guys. We got ourselves a new goalkeeper. Marcin Bolka is how I'm probably butchering this poor Polish man's name. I didn't realise that he played for played for PSG. Did not know that. Didn't realise he was at Chelsea, but I guess you live and you learn. He came in from Nice for £20 million. Polish international, yes, he's got one cap. Good aerial reach on this guy, very nice in terms of his goalkeeping attribute spread. 19 for jumping reach, 16 for balance. He is 6'6", so I'm hoping as a goalkeeper for us, he can really be a step up there. He's also loves big games. He's also consistent as well. What's this one? Good player for most Premier Division sides. I'm happy with that. We also picked up Robert Rennan from Zenit St. Petersburg. We paid the release fee for him, which is £9.5 million. He comes in to basically partner alongside Besic, and obviously we do have Jamal Lascelles as well, so that's a very good trio in there as well. I'm also going to talk about Pedro Bravo. He looks very good. A young player, Colombian youth international, 20 years of age, comes in from America de Cali. He was £1.3 million, so again, not too bad going the other way. One of the strikers we brought in, yes, we brought in 3 strikers in this window. This is the second of them. Emmanuel Omega, he is a monster, 6'5", 17 jumping reach, 16 heading. He came in from Strasbourg for £13.5 million. He only scored 4 goals for Strasbourg last season in Liga. He will score more than that in at least half the season in this team with this tactic. And there's one more player that I have to talk to you about. He's made his return. He was released by Newcastle. Callum Wilson is back in the sky blue kit, probably for a season. He's 33 years of age now, but I reckon a little bit more of his experience and his finishing ability will really help us this time around. 18 finishing, 17 composure, 16 off the ball, 18 work rate. It's exactly what we want up front. He's only got 11 pace now. I'm expecting that to go down as well, but he is a veteran. He knows the club, and I think he could be a very, very good addition, especially on that free transfer that we did pick him up at. Obviously, he was back at Cov when they were in League One, and he's had a bit of a rise up the Football League since then. Let's see if he can have a very good year for us in the Premier League on probably his swan song season. So if we go into the tactic and have a little quick pick of the best 11, you can see this is how we are kind of setting up now. Actually, Gustavo Hamer's not actually getting into the team right now because O'Hare, Doyle and Castrovilli are kind of the more aggressive ones here. Wright and Wilson will dominate up top, hopefully, and we now have basically a lot of depth everywhere. I'm really happy that we've improved in goalkeeper. The defense looks really strong. Besic, if you've not seen him in this year's game, he's going from strength to strength. He's an absolute beast. I still can't believe that he was transfer listed by Inter Milan, but again, we move. But then on the bench, you can see now we actually have a lot more depth, which I'm really happy with, and hopefully we can use that going into this season, because if we look at the competitions tab, we have the same 2 comps, domestic cup competitions. The board are expecting us to fight bravely against relegation this year after Chelsea won the title last year. What is going on? We are 1,000 to 1 to win the league. We're not the worst team in the division anymore. We're predicted to finish in 18th, so we're still predicted to go down, but Luton and my team, Bristol City, have somehow managed to get themselves promoted into the division, so we're going to have to see what we can do. I'd like to build on last season's finish. If we can somehow make our way into the top half of the Prem, I would be very happy with that return this year. This season, I wanted to improve on last year's 15th place finish in the Premier League, and that meant that we had to find a little bit more consistency. Whereas last season we were great at home, this season we really excelled on the road, picking up wins against the likes of Bournemouth, Brighton, West Ham and Manchester United moving into the busy festive period. Haji Wright continued to look like a true Premier League player, being our top goalscorer for a 3rd season in a row, this time netting 17 Premier League goals and 23 in all competitions. But I have to show a moment of respect for Callum Wilson, who returned to his boyhood club and bagged 18 goals in his 30 Premier League appearances and will now head off into retirement. After the festive period, our early season fortunes flipped on their head, with our home form clicking as we even smashed some of the better teams in the league. In the second half of the season, we managed to win 10 of our 18 games in 2025 to see us fly up the table and achieve a stunning 6th place finish with 60 points. And that means that we will be involved in the Europa League next season, which is completely nuts. We also had improvements in the domestic cup competitions this season as we managed to defeat West Brom, Sunderland and Oxford in the FA Cup before facing Newcastle in the quarter-finals. This one was at St James's Park and we battled hard against free-spending Newcastle, but ultimately suffered defeat with Oscar Gloku running the show for the Magpies. Whereas our run in the EFL Cup was nothing short of stunning. In the earlier rounds, we beat West Ham and Blackburn before defeating Arsenal on penalties in the 4th round. That set up a quarter-final tie at home against Manchester United, where we blew them out of the water inside the first hour of this one, opening up a 3-0 lead. Jadon Sancho did score a consolation goal for United in the 95th minute, but we were able to progress into the semi-finals without really getting out of second gear. Here we faced Chelsea for a second season in a row, and this time we'd be at home in the first leg. Tommy Doyle gave us the lead in this one before youngster David Washington pulled Chelsea level to see the game end 1-1. In the second leg at the Bridge, we really did step up, with Doyle bagging a goal in each half to see us win the game 2-0 on the night and progress with a 3-1 aggregate win. So we moved into the final where we would face Everton, and we scored twice in the first half, with Michael Fuller-Unshow and Callum Wilson getting on the score sheet. Everton couldn't muster anything in the second half, so inside 3 seasons, we have our second piece of silverware as we are crowned EFL Cup champions. You couldn't write this season any better if you tried, and I cannot believe that we will be playing in a European competition next season. With our reputation improving, so is our bank balance, as we have another £50 million to spend on improving this squad to take us to the next level. Okay guys, so this transfer window was nuts. I have to say, we had 2 major outgoings. Callum O'Hare has gone and Liam Kitching has both gone. They've gone to Burnley and Luton Town respectively. But you can see on the left hand side of your screen, I have spent a lot of money, £103 million to be precise. And FM's weird, right? We've signed Evan Ferguson. Brighton got relegated. He had lots of interest in him, and he decided to come to Coventry. We spent £79 million on him, and I think he's worth every penny. He's going to replace, obviously, Callum Wilson, who's gone off to retire. This is a very different kind of striker. 6'2", fast, strong, high stamina, good mental ability, 17 finishing, 16 heading. Why is he here? We also picked up Pablo Torre, the former Barcelona central midfielder. Nice and creative, this man, so hopefully he can fit into one of those Mazzala roles. He's only 23, doesn't look like he's played an abundance of football over the last couple of seasons. Spent last year on loan at Cologne in the Bundesliga, played okay, not spectacular. We picked him up from Barcelona because they released him, so a good pickup as well. We also secured a new left back in Josh Doig. He comes in from Sassuolo, the Scotland international, 24 years of age. Nice physicals on him as well. 6'2" for a fullback is really, really nice, so hopefully he doesn't get beaten in the air. But he is an attacking fullback, and that is exactly what we need in this particular tactic, so very happy to welcome him in. He came in for £17.25 million. And then finally we picked up this guy, Benjamin Kramashi, US men's national team international. Again, obviously we have Haji Wright, so I was like, he's doing quite well. Let's have a look at the US men's national team. And this guy really stood out at Inter Miami. So he's no longer playing with Messi. He's now in Coventry for £6.25 million. That was his minimum fee release clause. And I think he is supremely well-rounded. Nice teamwork and work rate as well. Exactly what I need in that midfield. Another big body at 6'1". Good stamina, good determination. Supremely well-rounded. Everything in double digits bar 2. Penalty taken and heading. Don't need him to do either of those things. So he's also listed as a leader as well, which is really, really nice in terms of his player style. So if we go into the team and we quick pick without restriction our best 11, guys, this is how we are set up for the season. And I will say about the star ratings, don't worry about those too much. Evan Ferguson's ruined them all. He's made everyone else look really, really bad. But this is how we are set up for the season. We do have Bulka in net still. Bissek and Lascelles are basically still fighting it out here. What I'm probably going to try and do this season is something a bit like that. Doig comes in that left back spot. Doyle, Castrovilli, Kramashi and Torre make up that midfield, and Evan Ferguson and Haji Wright up top. We do have the right back is wanted by Al Hilal, and Haji Wright is also wanted by Al Ali and Nottingham Forest. He's definitely not going to go to Forest, but the Saudi club may come calling and I may have to sell him. You never know what happens when they offer big money. Lots of these players do want to leave for it. Competitions wise, Coventry are in Europe, ladies and gentlemen. We are into the Europa League, which is going to be really interesting to see how we do get on there. We do have lots of extra fixtures to add into our schedule because of that, but the board are expecting a mid-table finish in the Premier League. Obviously we've kind of punched above our weight at this point. Man City yet to win a title here. Arsenal win it for the second time in 3 seasons. And if we have a look at the season preview, we've really started to step up now. 300 to 1 to win the title. Obviously, those additions are really helping us push on. And hopefully a good performance in Europe will help us improve that reputation even further as well, which is a big one for recruiting players, but also kind of this sort of thing and how you're predicted to get on. Lots of interesting changes in the world of football, though. Carlo Ancelotti is the Arsenal manager now, which is mad. Don Carlo at Arsenal. That's really interesting to see. Who is Man City manager, out of curiosity? Allegri. Liverpool have Xabi Alonso. Interesting. Let's sim season 4. We kicked off season 4 with the defence of our EFL Cup with comfortable wins against Sunderland and Fulham, but then suffered a very heavy, very embarrassing defeat on the road to West Ham. However, this season did see us have our best performance in the FA Cup. We defeated QPR, Ipswich and West Brom in the earlier rounds before facing Chelsea in a knockout competition yet again. This one was at Stamford Bridge and was ultimately settled via penalty shootout after a 3-3 draw. And this is where our goalkeeper Marcin Bolka stepped up to deny Mykhailo Mudryk before Raheem Sterling saw his penalty come crashing back off the post to see us move into the semi-finals. Here we face Manchester United, where Haji Wright gave us the lead in the second half, but former Benfica youngster Rafael Luis was able to pull United level and send the game into extra time. But this is where our depth at the striker position made the difference, as both Emmanuel Omega and Evan Ferguson both scored in the extra 30 minutes to see us move into the club's first FA Cup final since 1987. And the team standing in our way was Arsenal, and it was the Gunners who took the lead in this one through Gabriel Martinelli, but big Evan Ferguson was able to make it all square just before half time. However, in the second half, Arsenal flexed their muscles and added goals through Martinelli getting his second and Saliba adding a third in injury time. So the FA Cup wasn't to be this year, but our performances in the Premier League improved even on top of last season's already good performances. We got off to a slowish start with 3 consecutive draws before winning 3 games on the spin. But looking at our fixture list this season, you can see that we were much more consistent, winning more games than ever before, even beating Manchester City 4-0 at home in the process. In his first season at the club, Irishman Evan Ferguson topped the goal-scoring charts with 37 goals in all competitions and is now valued between 85 and 112 million pounds. Another summer signing that delivered this season was Josh Doig, who made the left-back position his own, whilst providing 2 goals and 20 assists. In 2027, we had a great time of it, and our team looked like real threats in front of goal, handing out some thumpings in the process this season. We even put 4 goals past Liverpool at home without a reply. These results throughout the season saw us finish 5th in the Premier League, meaning we will be playing Champions League football next season. And speaking of Europe, rounding off season 4, we have to talk about our performance in the Europa League. We had a flawless start to the league phase, winning every single game at a canter to top the table with a maximum return of 24 points. In the knockout stages of the competition, we faced French side Reims in the round of 16. We did beat them 4-2 in the league phase and continued to prove that they weren't a match for us, winning both games of the tie 3-1 to comfortably progress to the quarters. Here we face young boys from Switzerland, and we continued to look unstoppable, winning the game away from home 2-1 before completing the tie with a brilliant team performance at home with yet another 3-1 win. So we moved into the semi-finals, where we faced Atalanta from Italy, and we were on the road in the first leg. The Italians took the lead in this one with Divine Wrench firing home on the 17th minute. But this is where we clicked into gear, and Emmanuel Omega bagged a brace before Castrovilli added a third for good measure. Back in Coventry, those same players were on the score sheet for us again, with Castrovilli opening the scoring before Omega scored a goal in each half to open up a commanding aggregate lead, which we did not relinquish, seeing us move into the Europa League final. This is where we faced German side Stuttgart, and this was one of the craziest games I've seen in a final for a while. The Germans took the lead from the spot in the 6th minute, but it wasn't long until Evan Ferguson lashed home a penalty of our own to make it 1-1. The big Irishman then did add his second of the game in the second half before it absolutely descended into chaos. First, Castrovilli received a straight red card on the 56th minute for his horror challenge to see us reduced to 10 men. And then with 8 minutes of the 90 remaining, Gustavo Hamer also received a straight red card to see us attempt to close out the game with just 9 men. It was all hands on deck, but we were able to win the game 2-1 and to be crowned the 2027 Europa League champions. And when you look at our run in the competition, it would be very difficult to say that we didn't deserve it. So that's another trophy added to our rapidly expanding trophy cabinet as we move into our final season of the save. This summer window, we have a massive £60 million to spend on transfers as we get set to make our Champions League debut. So we had a massive outgoing going into season number 5. Emmanuel Omega had a very good time with us, but he wasn't at the club for long. 2 full seasons in the Premier League, and Bayern Munich paid £58 million for him. Bayern, Dortmund and Manchester United were all trying to get his services, and he decided to go over to Bayern Munich. Big amount of money coming in for us, and ultimately that's a great turnaround. 14.5 million to sell for 58. Yes, please. Yes, thank you. We will do that again. So what we were able to do, we were able to get a little bit active in the transfer market ourselves. As you can see, we spent £130 million as well. A bulk of it being on this guy, Tom Bischoff, a player I've not actually tried in this year's game, but he came up through a scouting report, and I think he looks fantastic over at Hoffenheim. He was 18 vision, good passing and technique, great first touch, supremely well-rounded player. Looks like he can play anywhere in that midfield, either defensive midfield, central midfield, or in the cam spot. I'm going to let my assistant manager pick where he comes in, but he looks like he has the ability to unpick a team with ease, and likes to switch the balls to wide areas, which is probably something we're going to have to train out of him because we don't have any wide men. But ultimately, I think he looks like a very good player. We paid £76 million to Hoffenheim for him, and he was a bulk of the transfer money. We also spent £30 million on this man. Harvey Elliott was transfer listed by Liverpool. I feel like he could be a fantastic Madala for us as well. Again, nice teamwork, vision, work rate, all of that good stuff, but he's good off the ball. He's nice and agile, good first touch and passing and stuff like that. I think he can be a problem running from deep, and hopefully he can have a good year with us because he's not really been playing a lot for Liverpool, as you can kind of see. I would expect him to look a lot better. I saw him transfer listed last summer for like 70 million, and now we got him for 30.5, so I think it's a good investment on us there. We picked up a couple of free transfers as well, also from Liverpool. Connor Bradley was released, so he will be a backup option for us at fullback. He came in on a free transfer. We also picked up Bernd Leno to be our backup goalkeeper. Always helps to have a good goalkeeper, or at least spare goalkeeper in this year's game, because people either moan about it or goalkeepers get injured, so it's always good to have a good veteran of the division there. And then we cracked out the Wonder Kid Finder, which I will leave in the description down below to find some of these gems. Angel Gomez comes in from Pachuca in Mexico. He looks like a great little player. He is a 4.5-star potential player. He is listed as a con. What is he saying? Leading EFL League One side. No, I don't think so. I think he's going to be a good Premier League star. 17 bravery. You don't get that on a lot of strikers in this year's game. High technique, high finishing. I think he's going to be a handful for a lot of players. £7.75 million he came in from. Also from Mexico is his youth international teammate, who's actually now been capped by Mexico. I've not noticed that since we signed him. He's listed as a wonder kid. Jorge de la Telgera, maybe, as a centre-back coming in from Pumas. Good leadership on this guy as well. 15 positioning, good jumping reach, 6'3". Another one with high bravery, high aggression, good in the air as well. I think he's a superb pickup. He comes in, as I said, from Mexico for £7.5 million. And then the last one, Marco Abate, comes in from Atalanta. Now, he was a very good performer for the, I think it was, what was it, under 21s, one of the under 21 international tournaments, and one of my players was in there as well, so I got the news item about it and I thought, oh, this guy looks good, so we picked him up as well from Atalanta. I wouldn't say he's ready for first team football yet, especially considering the two players that we've almost spent like 100 million on, two central midfielders, so he's not going to get any game time yet, but I think it could be a good option for us, and we're going to loan him out and hopefully get some game time into him. So if we go into the tactics screen, I am going to pin Gomez in here, despite the game saying that he's a League One striker, I'm not having it. He's going to play in the Premier League, probably alongside Evan Ferguson. So if we pick without restriction, the unpicked positions only, this is how we're going to look going into the season. Yeah, players like Harvey Elliott not getting into the best 11 right now, but having that depth is going to be crazy. Ferguson alongside Gomez, as I said. Torre, Kremashi and Doyle with Bischoff behind them is very, very good. And the team is still ticking over. We still have one player from the original Coventry team in. This is a very good player. This is a very good player in this year's game. I don't know how much he would cost you if you are a Premier League team, but in terms of being a fullback with pace, I think he's been fantastic every single year we've had him. Yeah, averaging over a 7 in majority of the Premier League seasons. 3 of the 4 that he's done have been in the Premier League. Averaging over a 7 is a very good fullback pickup, so maybe you go and look at him in some of your saves potentially. If you could put him alongside Leif Davies maybe at left back, that would be a very good championship or players in the championship to start. As I said about the star ratings as well, Evan Ferguson's killed the whole squad because he's too damn good. But yeah, we're gonna have to see how we do get on. We do have lots of competitions this season. We have our Champions League debut. We also have the UEFA Super Cup where we will take on Manchester City, who won last year's Champions League. In the Premier League though, the board want a top half finish, and we're actually predicted to finish in 9th. Evan Ferguson has made it into the media dream 11. Now he's 22 years of age. He's just sensational, guys. Absolutely ridiculously good this year. Would highly recommend him. Man City are favourites for the title, but they've not won. Oh, sorry, they did win it last year. So, yeah, only won 1 title in 4 years. That'd be interesting if that did happen in real life. Don't see it happening. Let's simulate season number 5 and get this video wrapped up. Before we get into the results of season number 5, this is where I ask you guys, if you are still here on the video, to comment something down below so that I know you are still here. And today, I want you to type PUSB, play up Sky Blues, down below to let me know that you are still here at this point of the video going into season number 5. The Sky Blues were really close at Wembley this year, and I think they deserve this rebuild. So let's get into the results of season 5, because it was a very, very good season if I don't say so myself. We kicked off the season with the UEFA Super Cup, where we took on last season's Champions League winners Manchester City and fired out a huge statement of intent by hammering them in this game, winning 4-1 on the night with Evan Ferguson at the heart of everything good that we managed to achieve. However, this season, we had disappointing performances in the domestic cup competitions. We got bounced in the 3rd round of the EFL Cup, losing 4-2 to Championship side Leeds United. And in the FA Cup, we secured victories against Lincoln and Spurs before losing 1-0 to Newcastle at St James's Park for a 2nd time in 3 seasons. In the Premier League, we got off to a fantastic start to the campaign, going unbeaten through our first 4 months of the season before the wheels fell off a little bit over the festive period. Evan Ferguson was our top scorer yet again and has really become one of the best strikers in world football and is now wanted by some of the biggest clubs, but we will be trying to hold on to him for as long as possible. Hinge striker Angel Gomez had a solid debut season in the Premier League, scoring 13 goals and providing 9 assists, and is about to become a fully fledged Mexico international. Not bad for someone who's just 19 years of age and was told he was a League One level striker. Our festive wobble continued throughout the beginning of 2028, but we did manage to get things back on track to close out the season with a 6-game unbeaten run to climb into the Premier League top 4. We finished the season on 69 points, but we were still a massive 20 points off eventual champions Manchester United. But that does mean Champions League football again next season, after I felt like we left something on the table in that competition this year. We had a great start to life in the Champions League, going unbeaten in our first 6 fixtures before losing back-to-back games against Inter and Dortmund. Those results saw us finish 9th in the league phase table and have to face a playoff fixture in the knockout stages. Here we faced Italian side Fiorentina, and the first leg on the road was a tough one, with Angel Gomez giving us the lead in the first half, only for Lucas Martinez Quatra to make it 1-1 in the second half. And the game then back in Cov was very eventful, with both teams scoring inside the opening 5 minutes of the game. Goals were flying in for both sides, but at the end of the 90, we were level at 2-2, meaning the game went into extra time. In the extra 30 minutes, we were able to add another 2 goals of our own, with the Italians only scoring once to see us move into the round of 16 with a 5-4 aggregate victory. Here we face European giants Barcelona, and the first leg was in Coventry. Yeah, we made Barcelona travel to Coventry. We acquitted ourselves spectacularly in the first leg with Van Iwick, Torre and Bischoff getting on the score sheet for us. Vitor Roque and Noah Darvic did score for the Catalan club, but we took a slender goal lead into the second leg of the Nou Camp. But this is where we couldn't get the job done, as Vitor Roque scored a goal in each half to put Barcelona into the lead, and Noah Darvic scored his second goal of the tie to see our adventure come to an end with a 5-3 aggregate loss. However, this was another outstanding season, securing a top 4 finish in the Premier League and some European silverware in the Super Cup. And this is where you can pick up this story. I have posted the save files for this rebuild over on my Patreon. You can go over and get access to them and carry on this story. Evan Ferguson at Coventry, and they're in the Champions League. They're vying it out for the top of the Premier League. Who wouldn't want to carry on this save? It's over on Patreon. And if you do like the rebuild content and you want to see more of it, check out this playlist. It's all the rebuilds that we've released on this year's game.